Hello, welcome to class 2 of January 27th, the 1400 and over. So if you're at home, like, stop watching, because you're not over 1400. Okay, today we're going to talk about the tournament that ended about a half an hour ago. The first few rounds anyway. So Tata Steel is a tournament they have every year in the Netherlands in January. And normally it's 14 players, it's a round robin, and most of the players are the top 25 in the world. Then they invite a few Dutch guys because it's in the Netherlands. So that's fair. Yeah. What I did was I took the first 8 rounds or so, and I took the decisive games that I liked, and I thought we'd briefly look at them for like 5 minutes and talk about the key points of the game. Now, one of the problems in chess that's not a problem, but people make it a problem, is the amount of draws that there are at the top level. To me, this is not a problem. When top players play chess, there's 2 things you want to see. One is you want to see somebody win, for some reason. The other is you want to see interesting chess. So even if, like, we played a game and it was like trade, and the computer goes draw, and you're falling asleep, and the guy hangs his queen, I mean, that was a decisive game, but that doesn't sound interesting. It sounds more interesting when we both sack up all our pieces, and then it's a draw anyway by some crazy way. So the fact that the game is a draw shouldn't really matter. Now, if it's a boring draw, or if it's all draws, all right. And in my opinion, which is not shared by anybody, the World Championship was an aberration. You said that a lot, right? No. Yeah. I think it was 12 draws for reasons other than it was 12 draws. I think it was very lucky it was 12 draws. There were at least 3 or 4 games where somebody should have won. And the first game was 7 hours, and there was 5-hour games, and there were games where both sides were better. So that wasn't, come on. All right. Now, what's funny is Giri has the reputation for drawing a lot, and the reason is he draws a lot. The other reason is that you don't know, in the candidates approximately 4 years ago, approximately, could have been 5 years ago, could have been 6 years ago, could have been 3 years ago. I'm gonna say 4. There was a 14-round candidates tournament. You'd be happy it was 14 rounds. It's 8-player double round robin. So that works? Yeah, and Giri had 14 draws. Wow. So, okay. Anyway, Giri was winning and losing every game in this tournament. He probably had the most decisive games. And Giri came in second. If Giri won today, he would have won the tournament. But he drew, so Carlsen won the tournament, Giri was second. Giri lost in round 1 with white. Not a good start. Then he kept winning and was tied for first at some point. Okay, so he played in the first round of Nepomniachtchi, who's pretty underrated. He beat Giri in 26 moves. Okay, now people make fun of Giri because he draws a lot. He makes fun of himself for drawing a lot too because he's sort of funny. But if you look at his games, they're all crazy. So I don't know why they're making fun of him. But he draws a lot. So this game is no exception. Nepomniachtchi plays the Pierce, which is not highly thought of at the top level. It's considered slightly suspicious. But Nepomniachtchi, unlike a lot of the 2700 players, when playing other 2700 players, doesn't really want to draw. A lot of them will draw with black, win with white, and they're happy. And Nepo tries to win with both colors. In fact, Giri, in this particular tournament, had at least 5 decisive games with black. Black was killing it in his games. Black was doing well. So Giri didn't play boring. Giri played queen d2 and f3, and they both castled queenside, which is unusual in the g4. So this isn't boring. This is exciting. Unfortunately, when it's exciting, you can't play your 30 moves of prep because it's not theory. And usually in these kinds of positions, it doesn't matter what the computer says. If you make a bad move, you're losing. So even if it says white's doing great, if white makes a bad move, then it says, okay, you're lost. And the reason is it's asymmetrical, nothing's been traded, it's not boring. And the players, unlike in other openings, haven't memorized everything. They're just playing their own way. Okay? And this is good for us. It's not good for them because you get crushed. Okay. So I mean, normally in a lot of openings when white plays g4, black often moves the knight away before g5 happens. And here, black can play e5, c5, bishop g7. In all of those instances, why's my knight on f6? So he played knight g7. And then he played e6, which is a weird move, and played bishop e7. Normally, when you play g6, you play bishop g7. But since white has 3 guys that could conceivably go to g5, he decided to play bishop e7, okay? And very unusual play, he castled queenside. So both sides castled queenside. In this instance, I must admit, g4 looks pretty stupid. G4 weakens all the dark squares. We can't play g5. So g4 just makes this bishop look good. I mean, I put my pawn back on g2. Yeah. Okay, so Giri played g4 way before black castled. So black just castled the other way. He's like, all right, if you're going to meet me, I'll castle the other way. Now, to me, this looks quite stupid, and Giri played very crazy, anti-positional, rash chess to make it not look stupid. He played f4. And you could argue, I would understand your argument, that this looks great. Like, wow, he's pushing all his pawns, yay. I mean, if you push all your pawns, sometimes the guy takes them. And this isn't really stopping black at all. Black's got all his pieces here. So those pawns aren't preventing black from doing anything. They're just weakening his position. Obviously, f4 makes this bishop better, so he played f5. Okay, he's trying to punish him on the diagonal. And then he played b4. He's trying to attack that e-pawn. Okay, and now Giri went insane. Now, when you go insane and you win, they're like, wow, you're a genius. Okay? Like Jobava and Morozevich and who's the third guy? Shirov. Over the last 30 years, when those guys went crazy and they won, they said, wow, those guys are geniuses. Then when they go crazy and lose, they're like, why are you always going crazy? What's wrong with you? By the way, this happens in sports. In sports, you turn on TV, and the guy shoots a three-pointer from 5 feet behind the three-point line, and the announcer explains if that was a good idea after he makes or misses it. If he misses it, they're like, what's he doing? Why is he shooting from 35 feet away? If he makes it, they're like, that guy's a genius. He's the greatest shooter ever. How are you going to stop that? Okay, so chess is like that too. When we're announcing chess games or we're doing commentary, when a guy gives all his pieces away and resigns, we're like, what's he doing? When he gives all his pieces away and mates you with his one piece left, we throw praise on him. Now in this position, the knight's attacked, and so the normal move is to move it away. Problem is, like this queen's on this knight, and knight c4, and these pawns are attacked. So Giri's like, this isn't looking good, I'm gonna sacrifice. Now, before you guys were born, especially you, yeah, before you were born, I was playing Michael Brooks, okay? Right. Maybe not before you were born. Also, probably not before you were born, but close. And it was a Sicilian, and I played b4, attacking his knight on c3, like here. And he had to play knight b1 because there was no other square for his knight. And instead, he played knight d5, sacrificing his knight. He got nothing, and he resigned like 7 moves later. And I said, why did you play knight d5 instead of knight b1? And he said, I didn't want to play knight b1. Okay, so one reason white sacrificed a piece here, he didn't even necessarily think it was good. He might have thought it was good, but he might have thought, well, I'm not doing that. Ugh, horrible. I'm not doing that. So I'll sack a piece and I'll play interesting. Like if I'm playing 1 minute, that's what I would do. Okay, but it was a real game. So, and normally, the higher rated you are, the more calm you are and the more boring you are. This position, because Nepo played so crazy with black, made Giri want to punish him. Well, you can't play like that. Rawr. If white plays knight b1 or knight e2, it looks like black's playing really well. But if white sacrifices a piece and wins, then he refutes his opponent's play. So that's what he did. And Nepo's like, thanks for the knight. Okay, what? And then white took this. So white's doing great, except white's down a piece. But white's doing great, right? Potentially get 7,000 passed pawns, threatening the knight. Okay, so complicated. Okay, he takes the pawn with check. Obviously, if king takes, knight c4 check wins the queen. So king b1. The knight is hanging on d7, right?
Yeah.
So knight f6. Bishop takes check, king takes. And black's up a piece, and white has some pawns, but, not really.
What was on b7 a second ago?
A bishop. They traded bishops.
Okay.
Yeah. So, really bad judgment from Giri. I mean, you kidding me? He sacks a piece, but there's no pieces left. Now, if it was Bughouse, maybe. Put a pawn on c6. Okay. But white has a knight left, and these rooks aren't doing anything. So, it's not going to mate him. Is this pawn compensation for a piece? I mean, a little bit, but not a piece. Okay, check. Knight e4. Yeah, he's just down a piece. Yeah. And he just resigned here. He's like, oh well. There's no pieces left. Yeah. So for Giri, especially, that was weird. You're talking about a guy who's known for drawing all of his games, and he basically goes insane and resigns with white. He sacks a piece for almost nothing, and then he's like, oh well, I'm done a piece, I resign. Okay? And he was egged on by his opponent's strange play.
I mean, why can't he at least try to push the pawn? I guess it's not going to work.
Yeah, trying is the first step to failure. Yeah, well, I'll go take it. Yeah. If I turn the engine on, it'll probably just say black's up 3 point, 4, 3. There's just no compensation. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it just says there's nothing. Yeah. Yeah. So for Giri, that was very strange. Like for his kind of, the way he plays. Is if he draws 14 games in a tournament, how's he sacking a piece for nothing and resigning with white immediately? Now again, when Giri does draw all his games, it doesn't mean they're boring. He has some exciting draws too. Okay, so that was a very bad start for Anish, but that's the truth hurts. Okay. And black won a lot of games this tournament. This is a game Anand won against a Dutch player. And here's what's funny about people complain a lot because people like to complain. So they're like, I complain, I get to complain, yay. People complain, all the games are draws, the top level's all draws, how do we get rid of draws, etc. Well, Jorden van Foreest, by the way, his brother's pretty good. His brother's about 100 points lower, and his brother played in the B group. His brother's not bad. Jorden, who's 2,600 FIDE, after 7 rounds of this tournament had no draws. So he doesn't have too many draws. Jorden plays sort of crazy, so he doesn't have a lot of draws. Okay, they played a Karo Khan, and he played a really boring variation. And Anand played Queen C7 to avoid Bishop F4. Slightly unusual, but yeah. And Bishop F4 happened anyway. And this is still sort of boring. But Anand is like, wait a minute, Jorden van Foreest, you're a Dutch guy. You shouldn't be playing in this tournament. This tournament's for the top 20 players in the world. Why was this guy invited?
Because he was Dutch.
He's Dutch, the tournament's in the Netherlands. So you gotta invite a few Dutch guys, okay? Luckily, Giri is Dutch, and he's also top 10 in the world, so it works out well. Okay, but if you invite too many Dutch guys, then the tournament's average rating goes way down. So they don't invite a lot. They used to invite 4, now they're like, well, the bottom 4 places are the Dutch guys, we gotta invite some better players. Well, Anand knows this is one of his opponents he should beat. He's like, well, if I don't beat this guy, who am I gonna beat? Am I gonna beat Carlsen and Giri and, Kramnik? And the answer is he did beat Kramnik. Okay, so Anand's like, all right, I'm Anand, so I'm gonna try to beat this guy. So instead of playing boring, Anand opens the G file, then plays Rook G8 and castles queenside. So Anand wasn't kidding this game. This isn't Anand's style. It was 30 years ago. Now it's not. Anand's my age. So now his style is to draw his games. But he can't draw that guy. That guy's low rated. So Anand's like, let's beat this guy. Boy, did he beat this guy. Man. Okay, so the guy's like, we castled opposite sides. Time to checkmate you. Then Anand's like, let's trade pieces so you don't checkmate me. And the guy's like, no, I'm going to checkmate you. Okay, and now if you watch my stream, and some of you at home do, if you guys do, Karen made emotes for my stream, because all streams have emotes, like emojis. And one of the emojis is King B8. That's an emoji. So King B8. Yeah, Anand's pretty good. Let's watch my stream. Yeah, when you castle queenside, you want to move your king over so you can sort of pretend you castled kingside, because when you castle kingside, your king's further over. And you don't want to have your king on this file. That's not good. Okay, queen e2, queen c7, queen e3. Why do you play queen e2, queen e3? I'm not the one on trial here. Knight e7 and knight g6. Okay, and I have an emote, never play f3. It's one of the emotes. Yeah, he played f3 and he lost in like 7 moves, so maybe I'm right. Okay, knight g6, f4, queen e1. Why did white move his queen every move? He wanted to lose? Okay, knight f5, and this refutes f3. One of the reasons you don't want to move pawns is you create weaknesses that you can't fix. So if you move your queen and you're like, oh, I shouldn't have moved my queen there, then move it somewhere else. And that's what he did. Play queen e2, queen e3, queen e1. He's like, I don't know. When he plays f3, which he did, he can't say, oh, let me put that back on f2. That didn't work out, which he would probably do here. Because this knight can come in here, this knight can come in here, the rook can come in here, and the double the other rook. But this was here, that would take, okay. So f3 is really bad because it weakens these 2 squares, and then Anand took advantage of it. Amazing. Knight g6, I don't like that move. Man, rook takes. Man, doubling up on the bubble up. Knight e3. You see what a nice attack black has? What about white?
Nothing.
Nah. Yeah. And now Anand made a brilliant move because he's 2800. Knight takes g2.
Oh,
Okay, threatening knight takes queen, discovered check. So instead of losing his queen with check, he traded queens. That's better. And the queen's pinned, so you can't play queen takes rook because the computer won't let me. See, because you'd be in check, right?
Right.
You trade queens, knight e1 check. You see how it's check because I said so? Why did he go to e1 instead of somewhere else? Where's that knight going?
oh, to D3.
To d3, forking the rooks. And Jordan's like, all right, you win. I didn't attack you and you're winning my rooks. Probably +3 for black.
Plus,
Oh, even better. Yeah, I'm not a good judge. +5, wow, okay. So Anand won pretty easily. They castled opposite sides. They both attacked. Anand's worked because Jorden played h3, f3. Okay, instead, Anand's like, this is where your pawns belong when you castle, not pushing them all.
Yeah, why would 2600 do that? I mean,
Yeah,
I kind of know that.
that's why he's not 2700, 2800.
Yeah.
Yeah, what happens is when you're playing the game, you sort of, yeah. Well, obviously, if you go back on move 6, he played h3, so, okay. But f3 is not a move I would even consider here. No, I wouldn't even think of f3. I mean, he's keeping the knight out of e4, but at what cost? Yeah, I would never, ever play f3 here. That weakens too many dark squares. Yeah. I mean, he did lose in 28 moves with white, so he did something wrong. Yeah. But Anand made the game very complicated with opposite side castling and opening the g-file, and then Jorden fell apart. Now, problem is, as I said in the first game, when you play crazy and you win, they're like, great. When you play crazy, they're like, why'd you do that? Okay, it's the Monday night quarterbacking. Why did they do that? And a lot of people, even the strong players, don't like draws, even though you think they do. So they're like, yay, the game's interesting, maybe I'll win. And then it's too interesting, and then you get crushed. And Anand, when he was in his 20s, he would intentionally make the game confusing. And then his opponents would fail, and he'd win. Now he does the opposite. He plays as boring as he can, and he draws all his games and wins one. However, he's like, well, this guy, I'm used to playing 2750s. This guy, I'm going to make the game interesting and see if I can still play well. In fact, Anand only lost 1 game in the tournament, a drawn endgame to Carlsen. And Anand was in first place at that point. So he was having a great tournament. Okay, and again, a lot of the people in my classes are like, why did he make that dumb move? And the answer is, I'm showing you games people won. If I show you games that went draw, 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 you're like, oh, why are you showing us draws? If I show you wins, I guarantee somebody did something dumb, especially when they're white. You, incorrect. Okay. Then Kramnik and Giri was a very, very, very long game where both sides had the advantage at different points. And I don't want to show the game, I'll talk about it. Kramnik had a really bad tournament because Kramnik is the opposite of Anand. Okay, when Anand was good, okay, and you guys don't remember that, not old enough. When Anand was good, he would do what Tal did. He'd make the position messy, his opponents would be like, what's going on? And then Anand would say, this is what's going on. And then Anand won every game. His opponents are like, what happened? I don't understand the position. And he's like, great, okay? Then Anand got older, and he's like, I'm old. I can't understand the position either. So I'm gonna play 30 moves of theory, the game's a draw, and then I'm gonna draw. And everybody that plays the top 10 in the world, so I'm still the top 10. And that's what he did for like the last 7 years. Anand has a lot of draws. And I was in Moscow in 2011 for the Tal Memorial. I was working with the Karu. 9 rounds, Anand had 9 draws. All right? In the World Championship matches, Anand has a lot of draws. A lot. When he loses to Carlsen, they draw almost every game. When he played Gelfand, they drew almost every game. They draw a lot. Okay, so Anand is like, look, I'm in my 40s, we're gonna play calm and boring and play 100 moves of theory, and I'll win occasionally because I'm old. My young opponent can't draw these equal end games because they don't have experience. Okay, Kramnik lived his life the opposite way. Kramnik was the most boring player ever, and he would win every game that was equal. He was a genius at outplaying you, sort of like Carlsen does today. So when Kramnik was Kramnik, he was winning games that nobody knew why. He was slightly better, clearly better, he'd win. And his technique was perfect. Then when Kramnik got older, he's like, ooh, now I'm gonna play crazy. Opposite of Anand. Okay, now his games are all crazy. I don't understand what's going on in his games. Well, now he loses a lot. He's old, and he's playing crazy. So in this tournament, he tied for last with the Dutch guy. The Dutch guy you never heard of, not Anish Giri. So Kramnik lost like 7 games this tournament, and it was 13 rounds. That's what he used to lose in like a year and a half. So Kramnik just gets crazy positions, and he's like, oh well, I lost. Right. So he can't calculate as well as he used to, and he's getting positions where you have to calculate. So if I just randomly click on the position, I just randomly click, I didn't know where I was clicking. This position makes no sense. I'm not saying black's better, I'm not saying white's better, I'm saying it makes no sense. So if the position makes no sense, you should be like 20 years old, not 44 years old. If you're 44, you should be slightly better with no losing chances. So I don't know who's better here, because black's up a pawn, did I count right? Yeah, and white has the 2 bishops, and white's rook is attacked, and white has 2 center pawns, so maybe white's better, and black's rook is attacked. This position doesn't make a lot of sense. And so the game's totally crazy, so Kramnik lost. That's not Kramnik's style, but he's playing that way now. And we move further on into the game, and Kramnik's down 2 pawns. He still has the 2 bishops. And then here he resigned, he's down 2 pawns, and he basically has no compensation, just down 2 pawns. So he gave up. Okay. Then Kramnik lost again, and again, it was total craziness. Okay, he played the Berlin, which he always does, and then in this position, instead of going into the famous endgame, here, 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 okay. This ending is the reason Kramnik became world champion and beat Kasparov. Okay, in the endgame, Kramnik's really good. And instead, Nepo said, no endgame for you, let's keep the queens on. And he played this other line, which also has a drawish reputation. Okay, and they kept playing and playing and playing. And eventually, they got a position which, again, is very unclear. And white has the 2 bishops. The pawn structure is asymmetrical. It's a very weird position. And so Kramnik got crushed. Because that's not the way he plays. And this is the final position where, obviously, black's winning on the queen side. Hooray for black. Go Kramnik, right? But bishop's attacking the queen and queen f6, so that's it. You know? So he resigns. So that game got very complicated with black winning a pawn, white having the 2 bishops, black's king getting exposed, and again, that's a Nepomniachtchi kind of position, not Kramnik. And I don't understand. It could be Kramnik doesn't care about his result. He wants to have interesting games. Could be. It could be Kramnik's crazy. Like, I'll play crazy games and I'm Kramnik. I'll win anyway. Okay, that's not the way he plays. It is the way he plays now, and then he loses a lot. So, like, the way Anand plays is draw, 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 yeah, I'm third. Okay, Kramnik just plays like a lunatic now, and he can't do that. However, last year, he played like a lunatic against Jorden and he beat him. And it was like the greatest game ever. So for every one of those games, there's 4 games he loses. I mean, you know, that's, you play crazy, you win sometimes. Okay. Liren's one of my favorite players, if not my favorite player right now. And he's number 3 in the world. And he beat Sam Shankland by basically just pushing him off the board. Like, you're no good. They played a very, very boring Ruy Lopez, putting the audience to sleep. The most boring variation ever. No, why is it so boring? Okay? And then Ding just kept outplaying him, and Shankland's like, all right, I give up. Because Ding is a better player than Shankland. You can see his rating's a lot higher. And he just outmaneuvered him, so he gave Shankland a good lesson. Okay, in this position, I already don't like what Shankland did in this position. Although, Shankland's a lot better than me, so maybe I'm wrong. To me, white should play on the king side. Okay, there's knight f5, and knight h4, and knight g4, knight h2 and queen f3, and play on the king side. Okay, and generally that's what white does in the Ruy Lopez. But Shankland played b4. Now maybe that's theory, but I don't like b4. Okay, now his b pawn's attacked. Okay, and then d5, black plays in the center. And now white, after playing knight d2, knight f1, knight e3, trades the knights. Okay, so I don't know. Okay, they traded everything, and this just seems like black is better because this bishop is hitting these pawns, and there's no white bishop doing the same. This bishop is defending this pawn, and it's on an open line that can get attacked. This knight can go to d4, this knight can't go anywhere.
I was going to say, why is it significant that bishop's hitting those pawns?
Oh, well, guess what black did next move, showing you why.
Okay.
A5. Yeah. Yeah, he actually won those pawns. That's why. Yeah, actually taking things is good, and you guys agree to that. But attacking things is good, because later you can take them. Later. So white's position's weaker than black's, because black has pressure on white's position. Potentially he could take that. Not now. White's, his bishops aren't doing anything. They're just going to get attacked. So a5 is, you have to take on a5. You agree?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now this pawn is...
Why can't you just move that pawn?
This pawn? Oh, he did. Yeah. Everything that you said happened. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, rook b1 attacking the pawn. Oh, knight d2. And b4 happened. So obviously in this position, bishop d7 is like the most genius move ever. Because it looks like I'm attacking the pawn. You know why it looks like that? Because I'm attacking the pawn. Okay, but it does something else. Shankland lined all his pieces up here. And you guys are like, so what? Okay, after f3, he attacks the bishop. And you guys are like, so what? And finally we find out why. b4, and here comes bishop a4. Now, without even seeing any tactics, that doesn't look right. That looks terrible. So pieces are all like jumbled up there. The king potentially could get in trouble too. Remember, never play f3?
Oh.
Bishop c5, bishop b5 check. Man, truth hurts. Okay, so he played rook b2 because bishop a4 is annoying. Right? Okay. And you play bishop a4 anyway. And now you guys you can't take the pawn because there's a knight on b7 hanging. But this bishop can't move. So he played rook c7, rook c8, and took the bishop. Good plan. Now if you want to move the bishop, you could move the knight, so you could move the bishop. But you can't move the knight. Man, chess is hard.
Wait, why not? Can't go to b3.
Remember when I said if you take on a3, rook takes b7? Yeah, now knight b3, b takes a3, you resign. I wouldn't lie to you.
Can't move.
You're like, damn,
Can't
yeah.
move it?
Move what?
Oh, then you're gonna lose.
Yeah, and the truth hurts, right?
Yeah, it does.
Also, the rook defends the knight, so I can't play b takes a3 now. Man, he's mean ding, isn't he? Yeah. Okay, so he played bishop a2, and now he could play rook b1 and defend his bishop. He can go to b3 or c4, and the guy took on a3 because he defended his knight. Bishop c5, bishop c2, and resigns. If you move the rook, bishop d3 check.
So, just move.
Move what? You gonna make an illegal move?
I guess you'd have to.
Like, make an illegal move. What's the problem? Yeah. Yeah, you either lose your rook or bishop d3 check wins your other rook, and then these pieces. Yeah. I mean, this game, he looked like he was me. Like, if I was playing Ding, it would look like I'm doing okay, then you're like, what happened? Why aren't you doing okay anymore? And that's what it looked like this game, like White was getting outclassed. Like, White's position looks absurd. He's down a passed pawn on the a3, his king is getting mated, his pieces are all attacked. Did his bishop on c1 move? I don't remember it moving. It is move 33.
It looks horrible.
Right, yeah. I mean, he got just crushed that game. Ding's good. Ding played 100 games in a row without losing against grandmasters. He's not lucky. And he's third in the world, right? Carlsen, Caruana, and Ding. And a few weeks ago it was Mamedyarov. Then Mamedyarov played in this tournament, and they took turns beating him, so now it's Ding. Yeah. Yeah, Ding's pretty good. Yeah. Okay, so Ding really crushed Shankland. Okay, and Carlsen, who's the greatest player who ever lived. As you both know, they don't know, in slow rated chess, you know, rated chess where they have a lot of time on their clock, Carlsen drew 21 games in a row.
Oh, yeah.
Because he drew 12 in the World Championship. Then he won the rapid games, which are not slow rated. Then he drew the first 4 rounds of this tournament. Then he drew before the World Championship several games in a row. So he actually had 21 consecutive games that were draws, Carlsen. Then he played the Dutch guy, just what the doctor ordered. And the Dutch guy had no draws. He had 1 win and 3 losses up until this point. So we had a guy who drew every game, it's a guy who never draws. And Magnus is way higher rated. Okay, so Magnus wants some action. And the other guy always wants some action, so it was great. So like you can see on move 16, they castled opposite sides and pushed all their pawns. So this isn't gonna be a draw. Unless Carlsen's black against Caruana, then he offers a draw. If you remember game 12. Yeah, it's sort of similar to this. They're like, wow, Carlsen's doing great, draw agreed. Like, what? Yeah. Okay, but he's playing von Foreest, so the game ends really quickly. And then von Foreest tweeted something very funny after the game. He's like, normally at Tata Steel, I go play my game, but I guess today I just attended a lecture. Like his opponent gave him a lecture. Okay. So the game is very sharp and complicated. And eventually, Magnus is like, all right, that's enough of that. F4. And he plays super aggressive. White plays super aggressive. And White's wondering where his pawns are. Yeah, okay. And White resigned. Now, if you go back a move, remember when he played King H7, confusing both of you? Remember that?
Yeah.
Obviously, Knight F3 forks the rooks here, right? And then I play Bishop C4 check, and then I take your rook. It's like Magnus saw that. So you play King H7, and then he played Knight F3. And now all of White's pieces are hanging. I hate when that happens. Yeah. And White's down like 2 pawns. So like this is attacked, this is attacked, this is attacked. The bishop's attacked when the rook goes away. And the computer's gonna say some crazy number, like 6. Yeah, 7, yeah, okay. So Carlsen was black, the game got crazy, and White said, all right, I resign, you're too good. Okay, so that broke Carlsen's streak of drawing all of his games because he played the right guy. Let's say, for example, you drew all your games, and then you played somebody rated 300 who was 300 strength. That would break your streak. Then you'd be like, oh, I know how to win now. And that's what he woke him up. He drew 21 games in a row, he beat Doofus, and then he just started winning all of his games. He's like, oh, I can win. I don't have to draw all my games. And he won all of his games after that. He won more games than he drew. He got a lot of points. He got like 9.5 out of 13. instead of 6.5 out of 13, which you would get if you drew all your games. He won a lot of games. Yeah. Yeah, Foreest was the medicine he needed. Yeah. And then Carlsen beat Mamedyarov in a drawn endgame, which is what he does. So this ending, black has a rook and a pawn for 2 knights. And both sides have passed pawns. It's very complicated. Mamedyarov likes complicated. The game was actually very boring, and then Mamedyarov said, let's make it complicated. I like that. Okay? And he did. And then in some position around here, it was even later than this, I think. It was right around here. The computer said it was a draw, but like black had to play perfect, and black made all bad moves. Yeah. So when it says it's a draw, that means if we both play perfect. If we don't both play perfect, white's going to win. White has 2 pieces for a rook, and white's queening. But black has a pass pawn on e4. Black's pushing his pawns down the board. Black's king is obviously better than white's. So the computer said it's a draw when both sides play perfect. And instead, Mamedyarov made all bad moves. Every move it made, the computer's like, what's that? And then he resigned immediately. Okay? And then Carlsen's like, yeah, I can still win. So he played h5, which is bad. Then g4 was bad. And well, he just lost now. Because white's going to make a lot of queens. Carlsen's like, I like making a lot of queens.
Well,
Yeah.
Can't black make some too?
No, you can't queen that. You can't queen anything. You got nothing. Yeah. But on the other hand, now we're talking. Yeah. Yeah, so he played for mate. See, g3 check, rook h1 mate. Yeah, and Carlsen's like, give me that. Now g3 check, I take it. Now there's no mate. However, this pawn's still queening, so he resigned here. Now it's going to say plus a billion.
Plus 20.
Yeah, I mean like a lot. It's going to say plus a lot. Yeah. Because white's queening and black's not queening. The computer's like, oh, white's queening and black's not. I like that. Yeah, okay. I said a billion. See, I was kidding. I don't know if you guys can see at home, but it says plus 60 right now. Yeah.
6.
So what's a really boring game, Mamedyarov says, I don't like boring, I like exciting. And he got it exciting. Computer said, okay, it's still a draw, but then he couldn't figure it out, so he lost. That was the story of Mamedyarov's tournament. Mamedyarov plays very exciting, very interesting chess, and when he wins, you're like, wow, that guy's great. Then when he loses, you're like, why do you do that? Why do you play so exciting? And then you guys complain about draws. You guys just like complaining. The guy plays super exciting and loses, you're like, why is he doing that? They play boring and draw, why are they doing that? Man, chess is tough. It's hard to please people. Right? Now, when Fischer won every game, you're like, yeah, that's what you do. Yeah, when Fischer did. Win every game. Yeah, exactly. Morphy won every game, too.
He did.
Yeah. Morphy and Fischer just beat everybody. Other people play really boring and draw their games, making you angry, or they play really exciting, and they win 5 games in a row, then lose 5 games in a row. And you're like, what's wrong with that guy? Can't he just play normal?
How high did Fischer's rating get?
He was 2780 or 85, and like number 2 in the world was like 2630. That was a long time ago, yeah.
So they didn't have people 2,800 then?
No, because the ratings were just, no, he was just way better than everybody else. Yeah, the ratings got inflated, but,
Yeah.
I mean, like, Magnus is usually 20 to 50 points higher than everybody, usually. And Fischer was like 100 to 200 points higher than everybody, yeah. Or more. And the USCF was even worse. He was like 300 points higher USCF than the other Americans. It's
They
crazy.
still have a lot of players. back
Well,
then compared to
yeah.
now.
Well, there's more now. Problem is, imagine your USCF rating is 2,800, and the number 2 in the country is 2,500, and you're playing in the US Championship. Sounds strong. Well, you draw, you lose a lot of rating points. You got to win all your games. It's crazy. You got to beat all the Americans. You can't draw them. So that means playing in the US Championship doesn't make a lot of sense for your rating. Although since he won every game, it didn't matter. Win every game, it doesn't matter. Crazy. Okay, Vidit actually had a good tournament. You actually mentioned him outside. Yeah, he's really good. He's pretty young too. But he lost to Radjabov in one of the 5 best games of the tournament. Maybe the best. Maybe. Okay, so white did not castle, and black did, and white's like, I'm gonna mate you, and white sacked a piece. White's down a piece. But white's like, I'm going to checkmate you. And he wasn't kidding. Okay, he went for checkmate. Okay, and man, black's king doesn't look too good. For example, white's threatening pawn h7 checkmate. So probably black should stop that. All right, so he took, king f8, obviously king h8, queen h7 mate. Okay, man, the truth hurts. Now rook f7 is winning and queen g8 is winning. So queen f6, knight g5. Now rook f7 is a pretty big threat. I'm serious. Rook f7, you agree? If you play rook e7 and stop rook f7, then queen h8 mate. So man, the truth hurts. Okay, so he played rook e3, which is the computer move, and the idea is we check everywhere. Well, you take with the pawn, we have bishop g3 check. Then the black rook can check, the black queen can check, 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 check. And Radjabov's like, no, that's it, one check, that's it. Now I'm gonna mate you. King f1's the right move. I was analyzing this game with the computer while they were playing it. And like every move was the computer move for both of them. The problem was when I started looking at it, white was already winning. It was like computer move, computer move, computer move, but white was winning anyway. And I was like, rook e3, who's gonna play that? That was the computer move. Then he played rook e3. And the computer already said king f1, he played king f1. Because you don't want to get checked, you want to just mate the guy. Okay, knight d8, stopping rook f7, yeah. Check, only legal move. h7, oof. Here comes h8, probably shouldn't allow that. Bishop g3, threatening queen f2 mate, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Knight e4, stopping queen f2 mate, attacking the queen, and now he can play rook takes g3 also. Very multi-purpose move. But knight takes queen is a serious threat. So he takes, takes. Now the mate threat on f2 is gone, there's no mate, and we're threatening the queen again. So rook h4, stopping him from queening. Rook d1, trapping the king. Now I got rook e3 check, and rook takes knight, and then rook e3 check, and so forth. Even though white's down a piece, it seems like white's ahead, because this guy's he's not really participating. So basically I have a queen and two rooks participating. You have a queen and a rook. You have a knight defending, a rook trapped, and this pawn's queening. So it's really bad for black. Rook takes the advanced pawn, check, takes. Now, surprising the audience. You want to be surprised?
Yes.
Sure.
White's threatening mate in one.
Yeah.
Where's the mate in one? How can white play mate in one? Over 1400 class?
Yeah.
Queen d8, what he said. Mate.
Yep.
So, okay. Played rook h8, stopping mate. Queen c6, threatening everything. Rook d7, queen d7, queen c5, queen c7, king f8, and now the brilliant rook takes knight. Man, Radjabov's good. Damn. Go Radjabov. Okay, he took with the queen. If he takes with the pawn, many moves win, many, but I'm gonna bet on that move. And if you can stop rook d8, you're better than me. You can't stop rook d8, I figured out how. It's a really bad way to stop it.
Well,
Here.
yeah.
Yeah, then after here, man. Now if you can stop queen c8, you're much better than me. Yeah. You can see this doesn't look good for black. No. He still wants to stop queen c8, he's thinking about it. Yeah? No, okay. So you can't play pawn takes, so you play queen takes. Check. You can't play king e7, I trade queens and win your rook. So you have to go to g7. Check. You can't play queen f6, I take your queen and take your rook.
Wait, why can't you trade queens?
Here?
Black would be okay, right?
Who's trading queens? What?
Well, what'd you say about the queens? About trading queens? You said you can't, you lose the rook or something?
Yeah, after queen c3 check, if you play queen here, I take your queen, then take your rook.
Yeah.
So you can't play queen there. Okay, so you played f6, you have to. You agree?
Yeah.
Okay, and then check. And now, black's like, oh well, I'll lose my rook. Now you lose your rook. Move your king, I take your rook. Queen f7, I trade queens and win your rook. Yeah, so he resigned here. But yeah, he saw that when he played rook takes knight. You can't take either way because I win your rook in the corner. Yeah. Too easy for him. Yeah. So that was like an amazing game. Now, Radjabov has a funny story, which you guys don't know, but you have a good excuse. You don't know anybody's story, so it's a good excuse. Radjabov was really, 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 really good, and he was 27.99 FIDE. He was like number 3 or 4 in the world. Then he got married to a super wealthy woman, super wealthy, and then he like didn't even play chess anymore. He's like, oh, I'm rich, who cares? And then he started playing chess, and his rank went down to like 27.20. See, some people who play chess, and by some I mean all of them, who are over 2,700, that's what they do. So if Carlsen comes in last every tournament, that's not good financially. If he wins every tournament, that's good financially. Okay. So Radjabov's like, whatever, no matter how much money I win in tournaments, my wife has more money than that, it doesn't matter. So now for money, you have no interest in playing chess because you have money. So now he's like, oh, I like playing chess, I guess, I don't know. Okay, then he lost his hunger for chess, and he's like, wait a minute, why am I 27.20? I was 27.99. Now he's like insulted. So now he's like really trying hard to get back to where he was. So lately he's playing okay, but for a couple of years, he's just horrible.
How old of a guy is he?
He's not old, he's probably in his early 30s. He's like, chess, I don't care. So he was 27.99, then he wasn't. And now he can play well, as you can see, but no. Yeah. Good player. Okay. And then Magnus beat Rapport, and this was considered by some like the greatest game ever played. And Magnus is like, all right. See, it's considered great because it's all crazy. And he won. When you play crazy, usually you lose. He played crazy and won, so they're like, wow, you're the best. Okay, so we'll start here because this looks really boring. This looks like White's better because White has a better center. Okay. And now Magnus played super, super, super aggressive. Because again, if you look at the ratings, Rapport's the guy he should be beating. He's not number 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 10 in the world. He's number 20, 25 in the world. So Magnus is White against the number 25 in the world. You got to win. If you're not going to beat the number 2, 3, or 4 guys, that's okay. But you can't not beat everybody. Got to beat somebody. So Magnus is like, all right, let's go. E5. Roar! I'm Magnus. And the problem is, if black trades queens, the d7 knight's no longer defended. So now white has too much pressure on d6, and bishop c7's coming. So trading queens isn't really good for black, because we got this action going on, and this, and this. But if the queen's on b7, then you can never play rook takes knight, it's defended. So he just took on e5. And Magnus is like, I don't want to trade queens either. Knight d5. So Magnus is sacrificing material. He wants to checkmate his opponent. Okay, e4 and bishop c3. So Magnus is very serious over here. Usually Magnus wants to win a boring endgame, but not against this guy. He's like, you're letting me mate you, so I'm going to mate you. Never play f6. Now, we got 3 pieces attacking. The rooks are not attacking. So Magnus plays king h1. What's Magnus's next move? What's the reason? Rook g1, that's what happened. Threatening mate. Bishop f8. And now, I have a lot of emotes, like always play bishop f8, never play f6. So he played f6, bad. Bishop f8, good. One of my emotes is knife f5. So it's a knife, right? That looks pretty good, doesn't it? So Magnus played knight e3. And then he played rook d5 to get his rook over here. Man, Magnus is using a lot of pieces to attack. I'm not thrilled with black's defense over here of his king. Now white wants to play queen g6. Pretty scary, right? So queen f7, queen h3 with obviously threatening h7. f5. Man, Magnus used all his pieces to attack. Wow. Scary. Knight e5, knight back to d5, fg6, bishop f6, and then rook h7. Very nice finish. And the idea is, if you go here, your knight's pinned because I said so. So this, you can go here, confusing the audience. And then checkmate. Here, doesn't matter. So he has to take the rook, and then you get triple, quadruple, double, quadruple forked. And you lose. So after rook h7, Black resigned. So they were like, wow, that was the greatest game ever. You attacked, and sacked. He's like, it's all right.
That's what I did.
Yeah, right, you're playing chess, I gotta mate the guy, Yeah, that's how you win, you checkmate the guy. Okay, last but not least, Anand, the most boring player ever the last 5 years, Mamedyarov, the most exciting player. Now, again, Anand knows a lot of theory. He can play 10, 20, 30 moves and still be in his prep. And there's a reason for that goes beyond the kind of person he is. You could be like, well, he studies chess all day, that's who he is. He studies the opening. There's actually another reason, which is funny. Anand, probably more than anybody ever, maybe not ever, but maybe, plays world championship matches and tournaments. Okay, Anand has won the world championship many times, and he's lost a couple times, and he's played in tournaments with the world championship. When you're playing a world championship match against Gelfand and Carlsen and Topalov and so forth, you prep for 2, 3, 4 months with your coaches. When you're playing in a tournament, you're like, yeah, it's a tournament, whatever. But world championship match is sort of important. $1 million if you win, you're the world champion, but the next world championship. When you play in a real tournament, you're like, hey, I'm the world champion. My appearance fee went up. If you were organizing a tournament, you want the world champion playing, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So winning the world championship is sort of important. So Anand did lots and lots and lots and lots of work for the world championships. A lot of that stuff didn't happen. Then when he plays in a tournament, he's like, oh, here's my prep from 3 years ago when I was playing Carlsen. And then he just rolls you over. So that happens now. That happens in some games. Anand plays 25 moves instantly. It's world championship prep, and then you lose. So Mamedyarov decided to play crazy. In the Kiro-Kan, grandmasters play bishop f5 here. And c5 is considered a little loose. I play c5, but I'm not playing Anand. I'm playing you guys. So I'm playing blitz chess. Okay, so this move doesn't have a great reputation for obvious reasons. You're playing c6 then c5. It's move 3, right? Can't play c6 then c5. Come on. So it's an advanced French where without the pawn here, so our bishop can get out. But we are down to tempo. So all right, so he takes it. And they just play normal developing moves, boring, not very interesting. Yeah. Okay, bishop takes g6 is a very strange move. You normally wouldn't go your bishop for the knight. And the idea is he's just keeping his pawn here and you can't take it. You can't put pressure on it. And the knight was going to go to f4 anyway, attacking the bishop. He just got rid of it. Now this move will look weird to you, but it doesn't to me. It took with f pawn. To me, that's normal because you want to open up your rook.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay. And nothing's happening. It's sort of boring.
Don't have to worry about e6 being a target.
You do, but you can't attack it and it's defended. Right, there's a pawn on e5. If the pawn wasn't there, it would be easier to attack. Yeah, well, that is the worry. But right now he's fine. Yeah, okay. Now, in the long run, Mamedyarov like, man, that ain't no good. Like, what am I going to do with that? So he did something with it, played g5. He's like, all right, I got you. Okay, so g5, but g5's a little loose. And then Anand played a brilliant move here. Probably Mamedyarov didn't see it. c4. Okay, and that's one of my emotes. c4 is explosive, which you get and he doesn't. c4? No, yeah, he's like, what, right? Yeah, good. Okay, now, obviously, if you take with the pawn, there's rook takes bishop on d7. If you don't take the pawn, then white just wins. So, obviously, Mamedyarov didn't see c4 because it looks like he's stopping it, right? Yeah, and then Anand played rook takes d5. See, Anand used to be all tactics. Now he's not, but he can still do it. Tactics pretty easy. If you take it, I take with check it when you're rook. Pretty not hard, but like you could see that somebody wouldn't see c4. That'd be hard to see. But Anand, he's like, man, I like the way this is looking. How do I open that up? So probably Mamedyarov missed that. Okay, rook f7. And yeah, this is just terrible for black. Terrible. Attacks the rook. Yeah. Attack, and that rook's like trapped. Terrible. Then he sacks again. Check. And black resigned. Because if you move the king, rook d1 looks annoying. Man, does it look annoying. Wow. You see what I'm saying about rook d1?
Yeah.
It looks annoying. Yeah. +7 is my guess.
+10.
Yeah. It'll probably get to both. One, then the other. Yeah. So Anand tore up Mamedyarov that game. And Mamedyarov is like, let's play interesting chess. But Mamedyarov is black. And if that doesn't work, you can get destroyed. If it does work, you're like, oh, Mamedyarov is great. This tournament, the whole tournament, things weren't working for Mamedyarov. Everybody's 2,700. He's making it interesting, and it ain't working. So that's a lot of the games Anand wins against really good players, is they're like, Anand, he's old, I'm going to beat him. If they're like, Anand, he's old, I'm going to play a quick draw, he likes that, then it's a lot of draws. But if you decide, like, I'm black against Anand, I can beat him, then you might decide you're going to lose. And he just didn't see c4, rook takes d5, and he's like, uh-oh, now I'm getting crushed. Right. So he just got tore up totally that game because Anand was playing well. Anand played really well the whole tournament, was winning and drawing, everything was great. And then he lost to draw an endgame to Carlsen in like 6.5 hours. It was knight and 3 against knight and 2. Then it was knight and 2 against knight and 1, and he lost that on the same side. So that was unfortunate. And then after that, he just drew all his games. He's like, horrible. So he's like tied for 4th or whatever, 3rd, something. But he was fighting for 1st until that. And you can see when Anand is white and he plays a lot of theory and he's in a good form, he can beat anybody. Obviously, he could when he was world champion, but now he's a little older. So you got to be careful with Anand. You can't just play crazy because you might just get crushed. And obviously, when Anand was in his 20s, you would definitely get crushed. You can still get crushed now, just it's rare. And Anand has weird now. Anand will play a tournament, draw every game. Next tournament, he draws every game. Next tournament, he wins. And I'm like, wait, what happened? What? And this tournament was one of those tournaments until Carlsen beat him in the 1,000th of game. Like Anand was getting close to winning the tournament. Yeah. So he can still play. Kramnik, no comment. Yeah. Kramnik, the truth hurts. A lot of the guys that age, they stop playing or they play a lot worse. Topolov's a good example. Topolov's not as old as Anand. He's like Kramnik's age. Topolov was number 1, number 2 in the world for 8 years. Now, Topolov doesn't even get invited to these tournaments because he gets SmackDown. And then, even though Topolov's not as good as he used to be, maybe he's number 30 in the world, he was number 2, number 1. Kasparov, who's a lot older than Topolov, when they played in St. Louis last year, Topolov crushed him. So, man, tough getting old. But I mean, Kasparov's out of shape. He plays in simul's against businessmen. He's not playing in Super GM tournaments. So, yeah. Anyway, that was the tournament. It ended today. Carlsen won. Giri was 2nd. And Kramnik tied for last. Truth hurts. Yeah. All right. Next week, there's no class because we're having the 2-day tournament. So there'll be class in 2 weeks. All right. See you guys when I have no class. Half point bye. See ya.